Hi everyone, and welcome to the Haunted Connections show. So it's me and Neil again tonight, and we have our lovely guest, Penny Griffiths-Morgan. Hi, Penny.
Hello, my darlings. How are you?
Oh, we're all good, thank you.
We're good. I'm just sharing it to the other pages, so I'm not being ignorant.
So over the next few
You
weeks,
are being you're being ignorant and you're ignoring us, aren't you? Well, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, I've got two women. I've got no chance, have I, tonight?
you have no chance anyway.
Well, this is true.
So over the next few weeks, what we're going to be doing is speaking to all our guest speakers for the next Parameet Midlands at the end of June, which is going to be at Sketchley Grange in Hinckley, Leicester. So Penny is going to be our first guest this evening. So Penny, how was Parameet for you? It's Parameet South, I should say, shouldn't I? How was Parameet South for you this year?
It was a lovely atmosphere, wasn't it?
It was.
For those people who weren't there, I actually brought my son with me, my 14-year-old, because he had offered to help, and typical teenager, he didn't want to help just before we left Essex, and was told he's coming whether he likes it or not, and he absolutely loved it. And he said to me how lovely everyone was and how friendly everyone was, and how he didn't actually use the word no egos, but that's what he meant when he how nice everyone was. And he was blown away about how people actually wanted to hear me talk. He didn't expect people to want to listen to me. Yes, boring mum. Pardon? Say that again. Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry.
No, sorry.
No, he didn't want to. He was quite surprised. And then when people were sort of buying the books and everything else, no, it was great to see some familiar faces and also to meet people I'd never met before. So I thought it was a really. I mean, obviously, I was only there for the Sunday, but it was a really nice, sort of jovial, easygoing, friendly atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think that's the sort of trademark of the Parameet, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've said this to you many times, Penny. You are always the first one I ask or invite. I it is true.
That's
you are always... Sorry?
It's a lot of pressure.
There's no pressure. So, but we do always want the way we want to do in Parameet. We want our core of guest speakers like yourself, like Paul Goddard, like Neil Story. We hope you keep coming back, and the two Kates, Kate Sherrill and Kate Ray.
Definitely, I was gonna mention my Kates. Yes, I was gonna mention.
Yeah, I must admit, the three people I really missed. I missed lots of people at Parameet stage. Was Kate Sherrill, Kate Ray, and Andy Saw from the Haunted Magazine, because they've been with us from day one. So, I mean, I did miss those three, but they're all coming for the Midlands.
They are. We're all coming for the Midlands. Yes, I think the nice thing about Parameet. I mean, I do quite a few. There's a few different Paracons now in the UK, and you've all got your own USPs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did the Scary Southwest, which is in its second year earlier this year. That is it's literally a day of talks.
Yeah.
So it's very different to the Parameet, because it doesn't have the splendours and everything else. And then obviously you've got the Festival of the Unexplained, which is like this mass event.
Yeah.
And then you've got and they're all so different, and they've all got wonderful things about them. But they're so different, and that's what I enjoy. It's vive la différence and all that kind of thing. It's really. And like I say, I think a lot of us now, because we're doing similar circuits to each other, it is like friends getting back together again every so often.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did get a message from Kate Sherrill. I think it was on the Saturday. She said, "How did your talk go?" And I was like, "I'm talking tomorrow." And she went, "Oops, I got my days confused. Sorry. Good luck." So we are all sort of, we're all there for it. There's no animosity or competition between the speakers, because we all respect what the other one does.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite rare.
It's a nice diverse range of speakers, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when you have got people like obviously Barry John, Paul Goddard, Kev Kerr, all these kind of people who are all absolutely wonderful, lovely people, and we can all learn from each other, which I think the kind of people that come to a lot of events are ones who want to learn. They're not ones who believe they already know it all. Or, I mean, yeah, all right. In the Q&A, I did argue a bit with some of the comments that were being made, but that's just me. Doesn't mean I'm.
Would expect nothing less.
Well, you know, I think it was you that was saying about the next gen of investigators on YouTube, and I thought, hang on, that's my son you're talking about. I'm not having that.
Yeah, it's just that
I'm working hard to make him someone.
I think he's doing it right though. I think I don't know. I don't know your son that well, but it seems to me he's got his head screwed on. He's not going to run up and down screaming and be like a 5-year-old. And some of these young YouTubers, I think they're just taking the mickey out of the paranormal.
He's got a couple of mates who possibly would be like that, and he's the one saying to them, "Shut up! I can't hear properly." I mean, that's he makes me. It reminds me very much of a young Ben Wyman. You know, I think he's going to be, but you know, obviously Ben's got parents who are in the paranormal, obviously with Sarah and Phil, and Will's got me, and also his dad, even though he's not a paranormal investigator, he's not a screamer. Yes, of course I've got to argue with the Canadian because the Canadian was wrong. Do you think, Wes?
I think Wes enjoyed every minute of it, didn't he?
He did actually message me as I was driving home saying, "I hope I wasn't too hard on you." And I was like, "No, I think I can go."
To be honest, the scariest moment of Parameet was when Wes was on about someone asked about if he investigates prisons,
and he
shouted, "Poo myself."
That was Penny, wasn't it? When she said about him going into prison officer mode.
Yeah. I've seen when we did Bob in jail, and the activity just went bonkers. I didn't expect him to do that. And he was right next to me, and that ear was ringing for about 2 days after that.
I think he made a few people jump.
He did. Well, Will said to me, he said, "God, he was scary when he did that." And he's one of the loveliest people you can meet, isn't he? So
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I've got to argue with the Canadian. What's that? I argued with Kev. I argued with you. If I don't agree, I'll put my point forward. But I expect nothing less from everyone else. So
Wes puts laughing faces now.
He's what?
Put laughing faces. Let me.
I haven't got the chat thing up, so I can't see what's being. Yeah, I know. He's really looking forward to me. Yeah, Teddy Bear. Now, he told me I wasn't allowed to call him the big Canadian teddy bear anymore, but he's just called himself. So when people say to me, "Is he scary? He's a prison officer. Is he scary?" I said, "Nah, he's a big cuddly teddy bear." And I got told I'm calling him that, but I'm sure he's going to cope with Rachel and I when we go out to Canada a week on Saturday.
Oh no, poor bloke. How long are you going for? How long are you going for?
Well, we're out there for about 9 days in total. So, Rachel, who organises the Festival of the Unexplained, you know, Rachel.
Yeah.
We're flying out on the Saturday. I think on the Monday, then we get the train to Wes's. Then on the Wednesday, we start travelling down into the States, and we're doing the Shanley Hotel with Ron and Lourdes, and a few other people are coming. And then on the Thursday, we're doing Fort Mifflin. And then I'm not sure what we're doing on the Friday. I think we're going into Philadelphia. Then on the Saturday, we're going to a Paracon in New Jersey for the day. And then Sunday, we start the journey home.
Oh, action-packed week then.
Yeah.
That's good. How do you fit it all in? You know, because you do lots of talk. You're very in demand this year, especially, aren't you?
It's gone mad. I mean, compared to last year, the activity. I don't know whether it's just people have sort of realised I can occupy an hour and talk for people and sound relatively intelligent. I don't know, but I'm loving it. I just love being able to get out there and talk about subjects that are close to my heart, but make it hopefully interesting. One of the biggest compliments I got paid at the Parameet was actually by Kev Kerr.
Yeah.
And he said that normally historians bore him rigid. He won't watch. When Lorianne said to him, "Watch Penny's talk," I think it was the last Parameet I did, and he's like, "Oh, do I have to? It's a historian." He said, "You're one of the few historians I can actually sit and listen to because you actually make it interesting."
Yeah.
And to me, that's the biggest compliment someone can pay me. So for someone who says, I don't normally like history, but I can listen to you or I can read yours, that's why I do it, because
That's good.
it is a cool subject. It's just a lot of people have sort of had it, with a history teacher at school, and they've switched off. Whereas if you put it into sort of more modern contextualization and make it interesting, and Will said he was shocked at how much I swear when I'm presenting, and I said, yeah, but does it not make it more real? And he said, actually, yeah. He said, because people were listening because they didn't know what you were going to say next.
Yeah, I didn't come into your talk this year, did I? Because I said last year I was going to have a swear box, didn't I?
But I do it on purpose,
I
because
know
people
you do.
are historians swearing.
Because I just think I could make a fortune with a swear box with you and Amy, especially.
Well, I tell you what, if you ever had Evelyn Hollow as a guest, between the three of us,
Oh no.
you'd be able to buy a new museum. But I do it deliberately because people don't expect it. And what was it I called Dickens? I think it was a narcissistic, misogynistic twat, something like that. And yeah, I can't see the point of nicing things up when everyone's an adult. He was a narcissist and a misogynist, so why beat around the bush? But yeah, that to me was the biggest compliment. What Kev said, that he normally can't stand historians, but he can listen to me because I make it interesting, and that's maybe that's why I'm getting booked, because I'm not what people expect.
That's good. That's really good. So, are you working on another book? Because how many books you got out now?
5.
5. Because you sold out on 2. You sold out on 2, didn't you, Parameet?
I did. Well, I've taken my haunted history off the shelf for a while because I'm doing a rewrite so I can republish it. Because our lovely Andy Saw, he does all my covers, and he's never been happy with that cover because it was our first one we did, and and I've sort of noticed spelling mistakes in it and things like that. So I want to do a second edition of that. So I've taken that one down. But yeah, I can't remember which one I sold. I sold out of another one, and I was down to my last sort of 2 or 3 on the other 3.
Good.
Did not. I didn't expect that at all.
I actually sold out of my books.
Yeah.
At Parameet South, so I've got none left now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if to get some more in.
You do. You need them from the Midlands, won't you?
I don't know.
It's more in for the Midlands.
It's an old book now, isn't it?
Sorry.
It's an old book now. Mine is.
But if people haven't got it, they still want it, because let's face it, books don't go off, so to speak. But yeah, I'm working on number 6. I'm hoping to have it ready for about September. The way things.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not coming as fast as they have done previously, but that's because I've got a lot of other stuff on. So
busy.
Yeah, so hopefully number 6 will be ready for about September time.
That's what Vicky says. Penny's talk at South was fantastic. People were glued to her.
Oh, thank you. Actually, that Will said that. He said the people were in the palm of your hand. How do you do it? And I was like, well, I've been doing talking for about 35 years. So it's not, I started doing presentations when I was at school when I was 13. So
really?
Yeah. I remember we had to do one for our English. And I think, I was about 13, and I decided to talk about World War One aircraft because I'd been to a World War One aircraft show that weekend, and I was the only person who brought props, funny props, aeroplanes, but props as in postcards. Yeah. And I knew one of the aircraft was a Fokker, as in Fokker. Yeah. And I knew that would make people laugh when I said this is a Fokker, blah, 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 blah. And I knew that the teacher would probably go, and going, actually, no, it's a Fokker, Fokker. And I deliberately wrote that in because I knew people would laugh. So I've been doing it a long time. It's not new.
I remember I did O-level English. Can you remember O-levels?
Yeah.
No such thing as O-levels now, is there?
I was the second year of doing GCSEs, so even my GCSEs, they still called them O-level passes.
Yeah, and part of my O-level English, I had to stand in front of the class.
Yep.
And it terrified me. Needless to say, I failed because I just couldn't do it.
I did my English, and I did it on women in rock music, and I'm bragging here, but I got the highest score in the whole of Norfolk.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. It must come easy to you then.
I wouldn't say it comes easy because you've seen me before I talk. I'm like this before I talk, yeah. But once I get going, I just enjoy myself. And I think I've always said, as long as I know how I'm going to open it and how I'm going to close it, if I've done my research, the rest of it should be fine. But yeah, I also say, I mean, Will was saying to me, why do you do this if you get nervous? And I said, because the minute I stop getting nervous before I'm doing one of these, I'll stop doing them, because it's the adrenaline that makes me perform, so to speak. But I do enjoy it, and I do love seeing it. Yeah, I do love seeing the audience.
If you know your subject well and you've got confidence in what you're saying, I think that goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like I say, one of the tips I was given when I was a bit older is learn how you're going to open, learn how you're going to close it, and everything else will fit into place. And it's true. So I think it was the night before, I was sitting there thinking, how am I going to open this? How am I going to? I'm coming out with and I do that for every talk. I'll come out with a different opening line, because I like to make them all, even if it's the same talk.
Yeah.
So the talk for the Midlands will still be the workhouse talk, similar to what I've done at the South, but there will be some little differences in it. So even if people saw the South one, the Midlands one won't be the same. Same as when you do the North at the end of the year. It won't quite be the same. Good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that I do the talks, because if you knew me 8 years ago, there's not a cat in hell's chance of me standing in front of 5 people and talking, let alone a room full. Seriously. It terrified me.
I mean, like I say, I did my first presentation when I was about 13 at school. Of the first time I stood up in front of, I think the largest group I've ever spoken to is about 850 in my day job in London. But I actually prefer standing up in front of a huge group than a small group, because a huge group, you can't see everyone's faces. Whereas when you're in a small room with 5 or 6 people, you can see everyone. But I say I enjoy it, and I enjoy my thing is someone like Kev's reaction, but also people going away going, I never thought of it like that. I'm going to think about that, and that's all I ask. It's why I do the workhouse stuff. It's like, get away from the whole Dickens idea that the workhouses were prisons for the poor and everything else, and start looking at the bigger picture. Because yes, there was horrible things that happened in them, but there's horrible things that happen in places now. It's not, I'm sure there's a lot of people who, if they were literate at the time, could have written and said, actually, the workhouse did save me. I would have died of starvation otherwise. So it's just think about things in a different way. Question things. Just question.
I remember the first time you did a talk down here at the centre, you talked about workhouses, didn't you? That was a long time ago now. And I must admit,
3 years ago, was it? Was it 3 years ago? Was it longer than that? The first talk I did for you was on the ATA.
Oh yeah, I think it was the first Parameet, wasn't it? The first Parameet group.
No, that was an independent one you'd arranged.
Was it? Oh, I can't remember.
Pre-Parameet, the ATA talk.
Yeah. So, and I remember saying to you, I didn't realise that about the workhouses, because I just remember Oliver. There were evil places, abusing children, all this nastiness, but they weren't, were they?
To be, I mean, yes and no. If I'm completely, there would have been cases where people were abused in them. It was a massive place with lots of different people in it, and a lot of the people in there weren't necessarily the nicest of people, including the masters and stuff. I mean, there are stories of masters who were abusive to the women, who did sexually assault them and things like that, but they would have done that whether they were running a workhouse or not. But you look at situations now, you get schools where there are teachers who manipulate pupils. You get you can look anywhere, and there's human nature things like this happen. But it's trying to sort of it's the fact that there's so many people who think that the workhouse, what was formed in to 1834, is what I was still doing in 1944, and such a massive change in that sort of 110 year period. That's why I sort of want people to sort of just, no, it wasn't particularly pleasant, but then again, it wasn't meant to be. But look at what those people would have been dealing with on the outside. Children would have been abused. Children would have been pimped out. Children, I mean, that's why I said, I don't know if you heard me say that when you think about when the RSPCA was formed, it was 70 years before the NSPCC. So in the 19th century, animals were more important than children.
Yeah.
But so when you think about society like that, when people say about children being abused, well, children weren't children the way we look at them. I'm not saying it's right, but children weren't children. And yet children in the workhouse were given a chance to learn to read and write, which they wouldn't have got on the outside.
Yeah.
So it's things like that I sort of say to people, I'm not saying bring them back, but don't assume they were all bad. Some of them did save someone's. And the other thing I sort of say is you weren't forced to go in. You had a choice.
Yeah.
It was your choice. You weren't frog marched. The only time really you'd be left in the workhouse was if you were found kind of unwell in the street, and the police may take you to the workhouse infirmary.
Yeah.
But no, if you were poor, it was your choice whether you went. I mean, there wasn't always much choice, but it was your choice. You didn't have to go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's nice that I'm reading all the comments. I can't put them all up because there's quite a few. Everyone in the chat saying hello to each other, which is nice. We've got Jane Mortimer's on. Of course, Jane is a new speaker at Parameet Midlands. She couldn't make the South, but she's coming to Parameet Midlands, and she's going to make 5-day thing of this one.
Wow.
She's Midlands 5 days. Paul Goddard, he's saying hello. Hi, Paul. Hi. Dead Cold Paranormal. Mark's on here, which is nice. I know he's coming. And it's nice that they're all chatting together. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I say, it's people. I think there's a lot of people in the paranormal world that want a family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They want a group they can be safe and talk and friends, and nobody's going to have a hissy fit if you've got a different opinion to them. And I think a lot of us who sort of are around at the moment, we've got that kind of outlook. I don't always agree with people, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to sit and listen to their opinion. I might ask questions that they can't answer, but I think it's just a nice.
That's how it should be, isn't it?
I think so.
Wouldn't it? It'd be boring if we all agreed on everything all the time, wouldn't it?
God, yeah, I'd have no one to argue with. It would be.
No. What would you do?
I'd have to argue with myself.
No, that's getting bad, isn't it?
No, I've got a teenager.
Oh yeah, argue with him.
Always pick an argument with him.
You know the funniest thing I read on Facebook. I hate Facebook, but I do need it because everyone in business needs Facebook. Unfortunately, is because we wore purple. Me and my staff, a team, we were described as Quality Street.
I saw that. I thought that was quite funny. I did want to know which one was the nut.
Well, I think there was 11 of us, so you can pick any one from the 11. Apart from me, of course.
Of course.
No, I must be the biggest nut to put it all on.
But you see, that's the thing. That's the banter that's nice. I mean, it's knowing that you can tease each other and take the rise out of each other, and people don't get upset by it because it's kind of a love language almost, isn't it? It's kind of how everyone is to each other. It's pretty for sure, but I think it was the teasing and the constant winding up. And
let's put Jane's comment on because it's very apt. Jane says, Penny and I have usually different views on the paranormal, but I highly respect her opinion and we've had a few great chats.
Yeah, 100%.
That's how it should be.
It is. I mean, The thing is with the paranormal, whereas with history, you can normally say it's a fact. It's a documented fact. You know, if you've got, but then again, even with evidence of history, evidence can be interpreted in so many different ways. You can have the same evidence. And the example I use is that you've got the evidence to do with Richard III that the Ricardians will say proves he didn't murder his nephews. We actually are nice to each other. Jane and I do. We are nice to each other.
That's the same as me and Penny as well, Jane saying.
But yeah, so the Ricardians say it proves that Richard III didn't kill his nephews. The Tudors say that it proves that he did. And it's the same piece of evidence. It's just how they've interpreted it. So I think having mutual respect just because you disagree. I mean, there are some people I do vehemently disagree with, and you're never going to get me. Like the flat earthers. I'm sorry. I'm not having that. and some of the wackier conspiracy theorists, some of the crap they come out with, I'm just like, no. But no, if someone's got different views on something that, you know, you can have a healthy debate about, I enjoy that. Yeah, and Jane and I do, but we do have common ground as well. So it's how you learn, it's how you develop. It's you've got to have an open mind.
Yeah, I think so. Particularly in the field, in the paranormal field, you've got to have an open mind, because there's no point criticizing people or slagging people off because they've got a different point of view from you. Because we all have different experiences, and our opinions generally come from the experiences and the knowledge that we've had. Yeah. So no two people will ever have the exact same experiences and have that same knowledge. So opinions are going to differ, and like you say, it's just a case of learning from each other.
Well, even if you were both there for the same experience, it's going to affect you differently as well. So you've got that kind of thing to factor in. And whereas you might have me and someone else, the experience makes me go, galvanizes me, yet the other person it terrifies. You know what I mean? And you've got to respect that. But no, flat earthers, I'm sorry, you're off the doctors.
Well, they're just nutters. Let's face it. There are a lot of nutters around.
Yeah, there are.
And then there's sane people like us who go looking for ghosts.
Well, there's completely normal people like me.
Completely normal people like Jane who talks to them.
Who'd want to be normal, eh?
Exactly. So, what was your most favourite paranormal experience that you've ever had, Penny?
I've got two that I can think of off the top of my head. There was one when I was on holiday in France about 5 or 6 years ago, and the place we were staying in, the little sort of cottage, I actually talk about it in my new book that I'm writing. The cottage we were staying in had this weird atmosphere to it. It felt, when you walked in, it almost felt like you were pushing through like something. I always question their sanity. I think they're batshit. To the flat earther comment. And I think it was about the second or third night that we were there. My son's bag just flew off this table. It didn't fall. There was no vibration because I checked all of that. I even checked the like if there were fakes or anything to cause a vibration. Nothing. I even put the bag there the next day and started jumping around by the table and rocking the table to see if I could get. It flew. Something just swept it off the table. It was, and the husband saw it as well. I wasn't on my own. And we both just sat there and went like that because I'd never seen anything that, not violent as in aggressive, but violent as in obvious before.
It was forceful.
Sorry?
Was it forceful?
It was like someone had a fit of pique and just swept their arm across the table.
Yeah.
Which did kind of fit with what I think was in the downstairs of that cottage, but that's one that sticks in my mind. Another one was when I was exploring some woods near where my parents lived that used to be a US Air Force HQ during World War II, and I actually had Will with me because we were walking the dog. It's middle of the day. I wasn't ghost hunting, and I could feel someone breathing on the back of my neck. Like I could feel it. And
Yeah.
he's in, and I'm not reacting because he's only about 10 or 11. I didn't want to scare him. And he just turns around. He went, "Mum, who's behind you?" And I hadn't said a word. And even something that subtle just made me go, okay, I'm not on my own here. He's picking up on things too. So for something quite, they're probably the two that I can think of off the top of my head. If I'm honest, every time something happens, I'm grateful for it because, you know, I always find if you've asked whatever it is that does this, I don't know if it's a ghost or not. I don't know what it is. But if you ask them to do something and they do it for you, I'm grateful. I say thank you. Because it's like if someone asked me to get them a drink and I got them a drink, I'd expect them to say thank you. It's kind of manners.
Yeah. It's been respectful, isn't it, I think?
Okay, I'm going to put Jane's comment up here because this sounds so interesting. Jane says, "I'm there to listen to Benny's history about men with big swords."
I don't know what she's referring to there. Are you referring to the Battle of Bosworth?
Or are you being rude? Sounds a bit cheeky.
The mine she sat through. I mean, she sat through the one I did at Scary Southwest. The only one I think Jane, which talk are you talking about? The only one I can think of is when I talk about Richard III.
It's tickled her anyway.
It has tickled her. She needs to translate that one. It's been a long day, mate. I know she's talking about Battle of Bosworth Field.
Hang on.
Third.
I think she's just being cheeky.
Oh. Gotta say, I don't remember doing talk about men with big swords. And if that's what floats your boat, Mortimer, I'm sure I could come up with something. But maybe not this year.
So it's going to be. I think Parameet Midlands is going to be even better than Parameet South, personally.
Oh, you're setting yourself a challenge there.
Oh yeah, you know me.
I think October though, when you do North, the Yorkshire people are going to try and beat the Midlands.
You reckon?
Knowing what people from Yorkshire are like.
What, like Barry?
My dad's a Yorkshireman. Back off.
Is he? Oh no.
I have Yorkshire, yes.
Oh, you're part Yorkshire.
Sort of. I've never lived there, but no. But what's even funnier is my mum's from Lancashire and my dad's from Yorkshire. And when I was growing up in North, because I grew up in Norfolk, I used to say it's like the Wars of the Roses in my head. Nobody ever got the joke because they didn't teach the Wars of the Roses back then. It's only whenever I used to go up north that I'd say something about the Wars of the Roses, and they'd get the joke about having one parent who's Lancashire and one parent who's Yorkshire. But, yeah, and people
these Northerners get everywhere,
particularly in the north.
It's a long way up north, isn't it? I'm going to be way out of my depth there.
No, I do love a bit of Yorkshire, a bit of North Yorkshire.
You know what I'm going to start when we do Parameet North. I'm going to kick it all off and say this is a cob, not a batch, not a roll, not a barm cake, or whatever everyone else calls it. What do you call it?
A roll.
You're wrong and all then.
No, I'm not. I dare you to come to Essex and say it's a cob.
Look,
you'll get hounded out. If you went into one of our shops and asked for a cob, they'll go, huh? Yeah, cob. Oh, no.
It's a good debate, though, isn't it? I want to do that. Emily says, "I'm so excited." Thank you, because you missed out on the South one, didn't you?
Yeah, apparently she was gutted she wasn't going to get to see me speak in the Southwest. And so, yeah, looking forward to seeing our Emily.
Yeah. Alistair says, let me put Alistair's comment. Alistair says, does the awards ceremony include the Saturday ticket, or is that is separate, Alistair? If you need to buy a ticket to get in the daytime, because the awards includes a 2-course meal and live music and the awards and something special at the awards. You really don't want to miss my special idea for the awards.
Oh God.
What do you mean? Are you coming to the awards, Penny?
I don't know at the moment. It's the honest truth.
I think you need to.
Right. It does depend because I have booked to stay at Sketchley.
Yeah.
However, the adult who was going to be coming with me, she can't come now, so it might be the teenager again. And I don't think I'm bringing him to an award ceremony where people are drinking. I think he might be traumatized.
He might be traumatized with what I'm planning.
Yeah, so it depends if he's coming with me or not.
Well, Vicky says yes, do it about the cobs. Mark says it's a stotty cake.
Stotty. No, I thought I've had a stotty cake before. Thank you, Jane. We do agree.
Jane says it's a roll.
Because my cousin, second cousin, she lives in Gisborough, which is kind of Teesside, and they have bakers, like artisan bakers, that will sell stotty cakes. Now, to me, a cake, whereas a roll or a cob, whatever you want to call it, is like that sort of size. A stotty cake you can make 2 or 3 sandwiches out of.
All right.
And it's very nice. Very nice.
Alistair said it's a yeast feast.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm definitely going to do it. Emily says, so gutted to miss you at South Penny. Blame uni. Oh.
Birthday as well, Em. I think it was your mum's birthday as well was the other reason, if I remember rightly. Well, that's what I was told.
Vicky says, oh, God. Vicky's saying, oh, God, because she's there. I don't know if the Haunted Happenings guys know this, but they're going to get roped into this thing that we're doing. Jane said, is everyone dressing up smartly for the awards? We did say smart dress, didn't we?
Yeah, we did say black tie.
I don't know about black tie.
Are you changing it now?
Smart dress.
Neil just wants to wear his cocktail dress.
Yeah, he just needs to.
My name's Rose. Do you remember? Yes, I remember you. Vicky says, I've got the team worried about what you've planned for us. They are so happy with me roping them in. Not. Well, I might have had other plans from when I talked to you, Vicky. Mark says, I'm originally from Durham, so a stotty cake is a northeast thing as far as I can reckon.
Let's say my cousin, aunt, whatever you want to call it, is in Gisborough. So that's northeast and Teesside, and they have stotty cakes, and they're very nice.
Yeah, but the thing is, Parameet Midlands is in Inkley.
Mm.
So you have to talk our language, don't you? Well, plus it's my show anyway.
No, I don't. Because I'm not from Hinkley.
She's posh. She's posh. Look, she says Hinkley.
No, that's a standing joke because the husband says I'm posh because he comes. Well, actually, I was born there as well. Harlow. They don't call it Harlow. It's Arlo. And I say, oh, Harlow. But the other thing as well is I pronounce my THs. I say free, not free. And so, yeah, I get called posh.
No, you are posh.
No, I just speak proper like.
Emily says we're bricking it. Paul says, sounds good.
Oh, Paul, you're nutty. You're just going to have to hypnotise us all to get through the night.
Vicky says, I didn't know the first idea, so won't know any different, will we? No, it's even better now.
You're a brave lass, Vicky.
And it'll probably have 6 changes before we get there.
Vicky says, Emily just messaged me, wanted to know. No one knows. To be honest, the only people that know are me. I think I've changed it since I talked to you last week, actually, Jane.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's just me, Julie. I think I did mention it to Amy on Saturday. Amy weren't too happy about it.
Oh, God.
It's going to be a laugh.
Oh, God. You know I don't drink, right? So...
No, I don't.
I don't.
Oh, dear.
So we're going to try and do it sober.
Is the lady with the famous cheek.
It's the cheek, yeah. Laurie and Cheek Jones. for anyone who thinks there's been a bit of a thing going around that every decent photo taken of any of the guests, presenters for the Parameet seem to always have Lorianne in the side, and so everyone's chopping it out, so it's just her cheek. It's become a bit of a thing, hasn't it? It's kind of a Parameet thing this year.
Jane says, I won't be drinking either. I don't drink either, Jane. So that makes it harder for me to do what we're doing.
That's what I mean. Whatever this is.
Mark says Lauren definitely drinks. Vicky says, I drink, thank God. Jane says, he started with my profile picture last year. It's nice to see we're all mates, isn't it?
Well, that's what I've been saying, isn't it? The whole sort of the banter, the camaraderie, the...
Emily says, Vicky, I think we'll be drinking.
I think it'll be a good night.
I just think we need something funny to get the fun going, because we're gonna have the meal.
More than me calling Dickens a narcissistic, misogynistic twat.
Seriously, what I've got planned is more funny than that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
God.
Isn't it, Jane?
I think it's going to be hilarious.
not for us. I'll just dangle that carrot in front of you all.
You know, I've told you that unitard swimsuit really doesn't suit you. You know, that swimsuit that comedian wears.
Oh, yeah.
Borat.
I'm not wearing. I'm definitely
suit you.
I'm definitely not wearing one of them.
A mankini.
Yeah.
Oh God! Don't put that image in my head.
You don't want the other thing.
I'll never get it out.
Jane, you don't want the other thing I was going to say, because that's even worse.
Rose says, how are you doing? We're both very well. Lauren says, still want the mass hide and seek. Emily says, any clues, Neil? No clues.
And Emily, I don't know either. I haven't got a clue.
Jane says, I reckon Kev or Neil should come out as Lady Godiva. I thought you were a nice lady, Jane.
That would be quite amusing.
No, wouldn't.
If you were on a big horse.
No. It's going to be funny. I like to be funny.
That would be funny.
No, that wouldn't be funny. That'd empty the room.
You'd be screaming as the horse took off.
Oh dear. Alicia, don't talk about dangling carrots. Wow, Jane.
She's talking about swords again.
What, big swords?
Dangling carrots and big swords.
What kind of show? What kind of Parameet is this going to be?
You invited me, dude.
And Jane says, hide and seek would be fun.
Oh, I used to hate hide and seek.
Did you?
I had this thing that people would always leave me and not find me, and then I'd
leave you for years.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a whole psychological thing going on there. I'm not going to bring the atmosphere down by talking about it, but no.
So have you done any research on Sketchley Grange yet, Penny?
No. I must admit, the current research I'm doing is on Fort Mifflin for going to the States in a week and a half and trying to get the first manuscript drawn up of the new book. But no, I haven't looked into Sketchley.
Yeah. Did you do anything on Lee Park Hotel where Parameet South was?
Didn't get into that either. I kind of ran out of time.
Yeah. What did you think of the building?
What did I think of the building? I thought it was a nice building. I felt it didn't feel as old as I was hoping it would.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It felt I didn't feel it was very old as I drove up to it.
Yeah.
But I like it. Yeah. I mean, it was a lovely building, and lovely rooms, and the staff were lovely, and yeah, it was a lovely building. But it almost felt like it was a modern recreation as I drove into. I know it wasn't, but it felt, yeah. But then again, you're probably not going to get many people wanting to stay in somewhere that's a bit run down and
yeah,
old looking. But yeah,
Sketchley's, there was an old house on the site of Sketchley, and they've actually sort of built round it. And as you drive into it, you can see the two sort of gables where the old house was, and then the hotel is all sort of spread out around it.
Nice.
So that's where sort of the haunted room is, in the old sort of attic of the old house.
Jane says, I was going to say one of them could have come riding on my wheels, but no chances, Lady Godiva.
Yeah, do you really want Kev or Neil's naked backside on your wheel? Really?
I'm actually seeing Jane Mortimer in a new light tonight. I don't think I've seen this side of Jane Mortimer before.
Oh, I have. When we did Scary Southwest, it got to be, again, I don't drink, so I was stone cold sober, and I sat on Loz's lap to say goodbye to her, and then Kev was like, oh, do I get that too? And I sat on his lap, and Jane was like, I was a bit offended you didn't sit on mine. And I said, well, the reason I didn't is because I'd seen she had a new chair that wasn't quite balanced right, and I'd seen her nearly tip it over by putting a bit too much weight in the front. And I wanted was to sit on your lap and your chair go. I said that's why I didn't do it. It was nothing personal. I just didn't want to be responsible for an ambulance having to be called. So yeah, she should vouch for that story. That is a true story.
Okay, Jane says, I was innocent until I met all of them. I can believe it, Jane. I really can believe it. They've all corrupted my life. I was such a nice, quiet bloke. Did you know we got criticised from one person? We can all guess who it was. About I think it was Kev sitting on someone's electric chair. There's a photo on there. And it says, taking the mickey out of disabled people is not funny. I thought Kev wasn't taking the mickey out of anybody.
It's a standing joke, because at the last Parameet, Kev nicked Jane's chair, and I did as well. The thing is, I wasn't flying around drunk on it like Kev did. I was, again, sober, and I wanted to see how manoeuvrable they were.
Yeah.
See, and yeah, it was more, I was interested to see. Yeah, I think somebody made a comment last year about me being in her chair, and it's like, well, firstly, she offered. Secondly, I'm not teasing. I'm just wanting to see how manoeuvrable it was, and the only way to really find that out is to drive the darn thing. And like I say, she offered. So I think people are too. It's very easy. People are they seem to want to be offended.
Yes. Yes. It seems to be an in thing with the population as a whole, though, doesn't it? And Lauren says he handled it well, though, laughing.
I thought someone would be offended about me slagging off Charles Dickens, but sadly, no one was.
No one did.
Try harder.
Yeah. School report. Must try harder to upset people.
Yeah.
Siobhan says, have you got any news for me, guys? No, sorry, we haven't. So yeah, so are you looking forward to the Midlands then?
Of course. I'll be honest, I'm not really thinking about it until I get Canada and America out the way.
No, I think you're a little bit busy, aren't you?
But yeah, no, it's always great to catch up with. It's always, and this sounds really sort of like I'm trying to lick arse here, but it's always a privilege to be asked to speak at events.
Yeah.
And it's something I do look forward to seeing everyone. So yeah, of course I am.
Yeah, it's nice to see old friends and nice to meet new friends, isn't it?
Yeah, and
is.
You know, there's a lot of people who are coming to these now that I do look forward to seeing, because yeah, so and even cope with your sarcasm.
Mine? You ain't seen nothing yet, girl. Lorian says Midlands feels like we're bringing it home. Yeah, I must admit, it is. Doing it down south was a bit adventurous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a bit. I was a bit out of my depth taking it down the south.
Pushed you a little bit out of your comfort zone, didn't it?
Because
it's the language barrier, isn't it?
The language barrier, and I can in English I can call it a cob.
And you can call it Italy as well, and people know where you mean.
So it is like, I agree with you, Lauren. It's like bringing us home. Emily says, bring it on. Jane's written an essay. Jane says, I think a wheelchair user has a right to own it in any way they like. As per this year, both were offered my wheelchair tryout. Curiosity is a great thing. And by allowing people to have a go, actually starts breaking down barriers, myths, differences of all types. Very true.
Very.
Then she says, it also brings a lot of realizations on the difficulty of using one and permanently needing one.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very true. And I must admit, it's something I've never thought about. I would have no idea.
Well, I'll give you something with Jane that, again, this was at Scary Southwest, because of where the hotel was compared to where the venue was. We walked from the hotel to the venue, and Jane obviously was in her chair. And when we were coming back, it was very windy, and there were some horses being ridden, and they were spooking. And she said, oh, I think they're spooking at my chair. I said, it's not your chair they're spooking at. Somebody's just put tape to Bagsy parking space, and it's flapping in the wind. That's what they're spooking at. But it was the fact that she was worried. She was spooking the horses. I had horses for years, so I could see exactly what they were looking at, and that was freaking them out. The chair wasn't, but it was that kind of realization that she was worried because of her mode of transport. Could probably be upsetting them. So, yeah, you do. I think you learn a lot, and I agree with it. It's her choice. If she wants to let one of us borrow it, and have a go and see what it's like and see if it is maneuverable and convenient, then it's her choice.
It's certainly not taking the mickey out of people in chairs at all, I don't think.
Not at all.
I don't think anyone at the Parameet or any of these conventions would do that.
Well, it's like Lisa, Corinne's friend. She was having trouble getting up off a chair.
Yeah.
And I sort of said to her, do you need some help? I wasn't taking the mickey out of her. I could see she was struggling to get up, so I offered to help.
Yeah.
That's not, or I said to her, do you need your sticks? It's not, I'm not laughing at her. It's and the thing is, I sometimes find if you can laugh at yourself, I'll laugh at myself, the things I do that some people would look at and think that's a bit odd. But yeah, I think there are some people who are just born to be offended, really.
Yeah. Siobhan says, what are your names, guys? My name's Neil. This is Jane. And that lady, I can't remember your name. Is it Penny or something? Peggy.
Peggy.
Oh, you've given me some ammo now, Penny.
Yeah, but that's what the Haunted Mad guys call me.
That's what Paul calls you, isn't it, Peggy?
Peggy, yeah. He tried to explain to, I think it was Amy. He was trying to explain it to. It's because my initials are PG. They nicknamed me Peggy, but it's kind of stuck now. So yeah, me Peggy.
Oh. We'll continue that one then.
Right, thanks.
Lauren says Kev was in Lisa's chair down south, and she was killing herself laughing at him. No issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
She also said, I struggled to get unwedged from the alleyway.
What were you doing up an alleyway?
Vicky says, I'm going to have a room full of people laughing at me and my poor friends at the Midlands. Yes, you are.
Oh.
And Jane says, you have to have a sense of humour to get through life. It certainly helps me to get through the difficulties I have at the events I go to. Mm-hmm. That's perfectly correct. Jane says you can answer that one, Lorianne.
About get wedged in an alleyway.
No, we're not going down the alleyway. So, you got any questions for Penny? Any difficult, juicy questions for Penny? For
Go
Peggy?
on. Pest me.
Go on.
So, are you able to tell us what your next book is about?
I am. So, I had a lot of people at last year's events, so the Parameet, the Festival of the Unexplained, some of the individual talks I did, were almost disappointed that my haunted history isn't autobiographical or semi-biographical, autobiographical about how experiences I had in the paranormal, how I got into it, my life up till now. And so I thought, bugger it, I'll write one. So this is about some of the experiences I've had as a kid, some of the stuff I went through losing my sister when I was 22 and how that affected me, and some of the weird stuff that's happened to me over my last 50 years. Not all of it, obviously, because I can't fit it all in, but it's to give people an idea of me, who I am, what's made me what I am now. So I talk about the history teacher who was the one that got me really into history when I was 12. What happened, what he died when I was 21, I think. And I had something weird happen at his funeral that I've never been able to explain. And even my dad, the engineer, couldn't explain it. And so it talks about all that kind of stuff. So it's me. I mean, obviously there's still history in there because I talk about my trip to Normandy, which is where that bag flew off. So talk about sort of World War II and Normandy, and some of the experiences I had in Normandy that I can't explain. And so it's going to be kind of autobiographical, but still Penny Griffiths-Morgan, but it's a lot more raw and open about me.
That sounds interesting.
Look forward to that one.
Emily says that sounds amazing, Penny. We'll definitely be adding that to my collection.
Yeah, I mean.
James will have a book released. Are you releasing it Midlands?
I'm hoping to. Hoping to.
Jane says, Penny, we know you love military history, but what got you interested in planes, etc.? From the little we've spoken about it, your knowledge is immense.
Oh, thank you. What got me into it? Well, my dad has flown as an amateur pilot all my life. So from as young as I can remember, I was around aeroplanes when he'd go flying on a Saturday at the gliding club. And I just found them fascinating. And as kids from, say, a very young age, we were always taken to like local air shows and things like, because my dad liked aeroplanes, so he wanted to see them. And I've always been more of a tomboy than a girly girl. So engines and things interested me, and it kind of just went from there, really. I mean, I love aeroplanes, all aeroplanes, but I think like the World War II type stuff is what fascinates me because of how fast technology was progressing then. But and because I like to sort of learn about stuff, and if I don't know the answer to something, I'll go and find it out.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't think I'm really chuffed you think that, because I don't think my knowledge is immense. I've got sort of friends who are specialists, like the most recent podcast I did with James Jeffries. His knowledge on World War II bombers blows mine out the water. But I just love learning about them. And my thing isn't always like the technical side of the aeroplanes, although I love to hear and see them and touch them and everything else. It's what their lives were like, what the crews experienced, what their families would have experienced. It's like the social side of how it, you know, when you think that a bomber could have come back from a mission and the ground crew would have to hose it out from the inside because they've been killed in the process, and they have to hose it out and repair it ready to turn it round for its next mission. Like that, how that must have, or being in like a squadron and seeing 2 or 3 of your mates go down whilst you're still flying, and you've got to keep going. Things like that. That's where. But no, I just find it fascinating, and I just think they're amazing, and
that's one thing that fascinates me with history. I got an O level in history, and for me, the fascination was how people used to live with sort of the, you know, their experiences with what they had at the time, and that's always sort of fascinated me.
Well, I think with like the bomber side of things, the fact that for decades after the Second World War, if you were part of a bomber cruise, you didn't tell people because they'd been made to believe that you were murderers. And I remember in my day job as a financial advisor, I'd met these clients. They were in their 80s, so we're talking about 15, 20 years ago. And we were talking about history, and I said, "Oh, what did you do in World War II?" And he's going, "Oh, I was something to do with airplanes." And I was like, a bit ambiguous, but okay. And his wife turned around and said, "I think you're all right telling Penny. She seems interested." And he was a Lancaster pilot.
Yeah.
And he joined just about 3 months before the war ended. So he saw combat, but he wasn't one of the high. But he said, "All my life I've been told not to tell people because they think we're murderers."
Oh.
And that kind of thing is what possibly the reason I talk about the bomber crews, because they were treated badly by the government.
Yeah.
When you think of how many of them didn't make it in any country, whether you're talking Germany, England, America, Canada, Australia, all of them, their loss was horrendous.
Yeah.
So that's. But I've always loved aeroplanes ever since I was little, and I just find them fascinating, and I find the development of them fascinating. And I must admit that there is nothing to beat the sound of a Lancaster bomber engines powering up. It's kind of makes me go, whoo. Yeah.
Mm. I'll just put the last few comments up, because then we'll have to go. Otherwise, I'll have to pay her overtime money. Laurie Ann says, "I'll get my book done one day. Yeah, I'll have a vendor store with you one day." Well, I retire in 2 years, Laurie Ann, so you better.
There you go. There's your deadline, kid.
And then she says, "Also, the alleyway incident is all very innocent." Yeah. Jen says, "Penny's dad is a pilot, and she said she ain't posh."
He's an amateur pilot. He learned to fly gliders when he was in his early 20s, because his dad had flown as well. His dad was ex-RAF. And it's not as elitist as people think. Flying a glider back then was a lot cheaper, but he got his private pilot's license when he was working in America for 9 months, and decided he was out there because it's like a quarter of the cost it was here.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't say I am posh, but everyone has. Yeah, he flew. It was predominantly gliders until. Yeah, then he got his private pilot's license when he was working in America for 9. Well, it's actually longer than 9 months, I think, because it was just going to be so cheap to do it, and he was bored.
Bored? Oh, I'm bored, so I'm going to learn to fly.
Well, no, bear in mind, he already did fly gliders, so it was when you could actually take some of your flying hours on gliders and put them onto flying light aircraft, because you kind of knew basically how things worked. Yeah. So, yeah, it's been his hobby as long as I can remember.
I'm quickly checking my diary, see who we got next week, because I can't remember. So I'm very professional. Yeah, keep talking.
You want us to? He can't blame menopausal brain fog, can he, for forgetting?
I can blame old age. I'm getting old.
Okay, mate.
So, do you think you'll be bringing your son to Parameet Midlands?
He's thinking about it. Considering the fact he had a go at me in the car that he wasn't going to be coming, and then I said, "Look, my friend's not going to be able to make it. Would you like to come instead?" I will think about it. So he has said, "Will there be a haunted bedroom?" And I said, yes. And I have said, and Hazel Ford is going to be there, so you can actually meet her properly. That's kind of swaying it slightly.
Yeah, there's actually 2 haunted bedrooms.
Oh, but he'll make his decision nearer the time.
Which is haunted. They've split it into 2.
He'll make his decision nearer the time, but we shall see. We shall see.
Okay, then. Next week, we are talking to Eamon Van Harris.
Oh, I know Eamon. It's fascinating stuff. Like equipment.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he works with EVPs and all this gadgetry, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. I'm sure he was restoring. I'm sure it was a radio from a Lancaster or something like that from a Lancaster. Yeah. I'm sure I saw him share one of those once.
Well, if you tune in next Tuesday, you can ask him.
I can, or I might email him.
Email him. Okay, we just want to say thanks for listening, everybody. Jane says, love Eamon's work. So, yeah, next Tuesday we'll talk to Eamon Van Harris. So we will say goodnight. Thanks, Penny, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, lovely to see you and catch up with you again.
We will see you in the end of June. Parameet Midlands.
Yeah.
So see you all next week.
Bye for now.
Bye, guys.